continuing the theme of looking at the social impact of facilities management, going to hear from a service provider now. And I talked earlier on, and I'm not going to repeat stuff that you're going to say, but I talked earlier on about the huge social impact that we have because of the number of people we employ and their families, as well as George talked about the communities. So, you know, this whole area is something I'm passionate about. Diversity and inclusion is a key part of that. I am delighted with our gender balance this room looks today. I think that's a, you know, huge congratulations. I think we've done a much better job than some years in the past, and I hope that's a trend that we're going to see continue for a long time. I've got disappointments in other areas, but you're very white. Oh. And our workforce isn't, is it? So there's an issue there, but maybe we'll hear some about what they're doing about that at Atalian Servest, because here we have the head of HR and the head of learning and development, Sophie Ransome and Kelly Dolphin.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having us. I'm Sophie Ransome, and I'm the head of HR at Atalian Servest.
Morning, everyone. I'm Kelly Dolphin, and I am the head of learning development at Atalian Servest.
And we are delighted to present this morning on the impact of social value and diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And in order to do this, and I think in order to bring it to life somewhat, we're going to share with you some of the journey that we've been on as a business and that we continue to be on as a business, and some of the lessons that we've learnt along the way.
Okay. The purpose of the presentation's kind of taken a different direction now, because the focus is to prove Guy wrong, and that we do know what we're doing and that we are making a difference. So, as Sophie just said, we're going to share a journey with you, and that journey did lead to us winning an award. It was the first time we were let out after COVID, so it was a really good night, and it was the first of its kind. So it was the IWFM award for our diversity and inclusion initiative. That said, the journey's not over, because it's not just about winning an award, it's not just box ticking, it's about our people. And as Martin said, we've got 3.5 million people in FM that we need to support and essentially make a difference. So, any in this room, can you tell me the makeup, well, not tell me, but do you know the makeup of your company, the real demographic of who you've got and where, ethnicity, gender, etc.? Have you done that piece of work? Show of hands? Show of hands? And are you confident with that data that it's accurate? Yeah? Okay.
Don't feel embarrassed, but show of hands if you haven't got that data. Yeah. There were lots of other people who didn't put their hands up.
So really, for us as businesses, let's be honest, this is a huge area, and it's quite hard sometimes to know where we begin. And I think the starting point for all of us is that we do need to effectively take a long, hard look at ourselves as businesses and the makeup of our workforce. And it's really encouraging that many of the businesses in this room are already doing this. But for Atalian Servest, when we started on our journey, that's exactly what we did. We analysed the makeup of our workforce. And at first glance, we were actually really pleasantly surprised by the data that we got. And I think as tempting as it might be to plaster these statistics all over our website in a lovely glossy brochure, we knew that we were burying our heads in the sand, because we knew deep down that these stats, great as they are on a high-level basis, they're not reflective of every area of our business. And as Georgia said earlier, and it was a point that really resonated, if we're going to do something in this area, it's got to be meaningful. We can't just pay lip service to this, and we can't just paper over the cracks. So that's what we did, and we dug deeper into that data. And when we got to the point of reviewing our senior leadership team and our management team, that's when we realised we were way off the mark as a business of where we wanted to be. And I can see some nods around the room that probably suggest this is probably an all too familiar truth for us. So where do we go from this point? I think as a business, once you realise that you've got an issue, you want to tackle it head on. So it was key for us that we acted quickly and that we devised a strategy in order to make some positive improvements as quickly as possible. So we started to identify a number of targets that we wanted to set ourselves as a business, but this is where we learnt one of the first lessons as part of our journey, is that as businesses we don't have to move mountains alone, and there are a wealth of other organisations and accreditations out there that if you can partner with them, you will automatically gain an additional amount of guidance and support when it comes to improving diversity and inclusion. And a couple of key examples for us that we have signed up to is the Race at Work Charter, and also working towards achieving the Disability Confident accreditation. Now, I just wonder again, by way of show of hands in the room, how many of your organisations have signed up to the Race at Work Charter? Yeah. Okay, so quite a few in the room. And how about the Disability Confident accreditation? Yeah, a few more hands up in the room there. So I think for anybody in this room perhaps who hasn't looked into those areas, we've found it a really interesting area. And I think because these are government-backed initiatives, there are milestones that we have to work towards. And it means that as a business that we remain accountable for achieving those milestones. So that's been a real key lesson that we learned at the outset. But it's all well and good setting those targets. You've got to find a way in which you can bring it to life for your workforce.
Okay, so you've got your targets set, you've got your board on board, you've got your strategy, so they're happy. Now you have to go and do it. So we looked at 3 different areas. What we really wanted was a way to capture the hearts, minds and imaginations of all our colleagues to make sure we were being truly inclusive. So the first thing that we did is we launched Opportunity, which is our internal learning development brand with equal access to education for all. Some things that the guy from Eric Wright was saying earlier really resonated with us. We offer apprenticeships, we do pre-employment training for those that are far away from the job market to get those people back into work, and that's supported with the Disability Confident accreditation. We have 20,000 people in our business, frontline workers, very diverse, and no one's just a cleaner, no one's just a security guard. We should be supporting these people above the poverty line. As Georgia said earlier, 11% of the workforce is living below the poverty line, and the number 1 sustainable development goal is no poverty. So we really want to support that. And the second thing that we did is we launched the One competition. Have any of you watched Dragon's Den? I'm sure you probably all have. Yeah, so it's a Dragon's Den style competition where we wanted everyone in the business to come up with ideas to improve the business. We wanted every single voice to be heard. So we launched a competition, and the finalists presented to the board, and then a winner was chosen and their idea got implemented along with that person winning quite a sizable cash prize. So that's 2 of the things we did. The third thing we did was, yes, it's another acronym, we launched CHROMA. So CHROMA stands for Creating Harmony, Respecting Others and Making Allies. So your acronym could mean different things, but it's our colleague-led platform to encourage them to support our D&I agenda for the future. Okay, so we recommend that when you start this initiative, you start with a launch event. So it needs to look completely different to anything else that you're doing within your business, because you need to start with a bang. You need to get people to want to be involved. You don't want the messages getting lost in your corporate communications. We went out into sites and presented, and the hope was to inspire people to get on board with what we were doing. So many things will happen along the way. There'll be so many hurdles. For us, there was 2 major global events that impacted us, and I'm sure they impacted everyone else in this room as well. So the first thing was COVID-19. I think the good thing about COVID was that it absolutely highlighted the key workers in our business. It's a sentiment now shared by the entire British public. They were not seen as key or essential workers before, and I think that's completely changed. And then there was the atrocities with George Floyd and the huge increase in hate crime. So a lot of companies may have stopped in the tracks at this point. There was a lot going on and the focus does, you know, it can shift quickly and it gets put back to the bottom of the pile. But actually we realised that our colleagues needed us now more than ever and that we needed a more robust programme in place.
And that's exactly what we did. As Kelly said, there probably would have been every opportunity to put the pen down and focus on what was right in front of us at the time. But we thought there's no time like the present to launch Chroma and give it a revised emphasis and bring some real structure and focus around what we wanted to achieve from a diversity and inclusion perspective. So this expansion of Chroma saw us launch 3 colleague-led networks, each focusing on a different area. So we've got a physical and mental health committee, a race, ethnicity and faith committee, and an LGBTQ+ and gender committee. And whilst all of these internal networks are sponsored by a board member, they are by no means board-led, and it is over really to the hearts and minds of our colleagues to shape and influence our D&I strategy within this particular area. So it's really important for us as a business. We can set up the structures, we can set up the frameworks, but without finding a way to engage the hearts and minds of your colleagues, it's going to be really difficult to make a positive impact on the ground. So that being the case, we mentioned earlier about how difficult communication is in our respective industries. How do you find a way to keep the messaging clear on this topic with your workforce?
So the next thing we did was we launched Opportunity Learner Experience Platform. So this is a cloud-based system with education, training programs, but most importantly, it allowed us to communicate with our workforce. We quickly realised that we needed an omni-channel approach to be able to reach out to such a fragmented workforce. We've got people working 24 hours a day, well, not actually working 24 hours a day, but across 24 hours a day, in different sites, on trains, in retail, all different sectors. So this enabled us to communicate with everyone. So what we'd suggest as well is that if you do launch an LXP, you need to do it in a way that allows for colleague engagement. So it's a bit of a social media for colleagues, and Eric Wright kind of stole our thunder with this, but there you go. So it's done in a social media style, so they can comment on content, the courses that's on there, so we know what's having an impact. And when we started out, we had 6 mandatory courses, but as events happened in the world and changed things, we've increased that to 9. So we've got a mental health course now just because of the issues that people have faced during COVID. And I'm sure that it'll be the same for you. It's an ongoing process. So as well as communicating via the platform, we also got out into the sites. I can't stress how important that is, and we found that this was the best way of communicating with the workforce. We did roadshows, we did one-to-ones, we wanted to ensure that everybody felt included and that the communication was for everyone. Okay, so I mentioned earlier about the One competition. So I'm going to show you a video now of the winner being announced of the competition, and we wanted to show you this to just demonstrate the impact that these initiatives can have on the lives of your employees.
Okay, the entry that we considered would have the best impact and the most positive impact on our business and align with our goals around innovation and to be aligned with our values. And the winner is Lindsay. Congratulations, Lindsay.
I've never won anything in my life. So thank you very much for believing in me.
Okay, and just to put that into context, so he started working for our business as a cleaner, 5 hours a week in a grocery store, and progressed and developed through the business to be a skills coach in the learning development team, sharing his knowledge and expertise with other people that started out exactly in the position that he did. So I think you can see the huge impact that winning that competition had on him. And then we have Holly Ferneyhouse. So Holly started her career in FM 10 years ago after leaving the military.
I'm Holly Ferneyhouse. I'm a business support manager at Atalian Servest. I served in the Army Air Corps as a ground crew specialist for 8 years. When setting out on my journey into the civilian world, I found it really important to try and find a company that matched my values and my ethics. You don't realise at the time as a military personnel, you don't realise that the skills that you've got are actually really transferable into a civilian environment. So things like obviously loyalty, integrity and discipline I can't go on enough about. I've received so much support from the business. In 2020 I was nominated and won the Ex-Forces and Business Award for Rising Star of the Year. I was nominated for that by my senior team. My biggest piece of advice would be for people to stay true to themselves. It's important that you find somewhere that matches and aligns with your values and the way that you want to work. Find a business that can do that for you and that can support you in your progression and in your career.
So we're not perfect and we are still learning, and yes, we did win an award which we're unbelievably proud of, but that's not the reason for doing it. It's got to be about the impact on the lives of your employees.
And as Kelly's shown, those individual stories are really heartwarming, but we mustn't forget and we mustn't rest on our laurels, and we can't effectively launch platforms and initiatives like this and just leave it. We've got to continue talking to our workforces and engaging with them. And then when we last did this in 2021, whilst it was clear, 87% of the people we spoke to said there was still more work to be done. But the point that we took away and we found the most encouraging was that 92% of those people wanted to be part of making that change. And that's for us, that was the point where it really resonated, and we thought this is really a journey, but we've now got a group of people who are committed to being part of it with us. So in terms of the future then, where does the future lie? Well, it's clear to us that this is an ongoing journey and we're going to continue working and engaging with our workforces. But to go right back to one of the first lessons we learned in this exercise was the value of partnerships. And so we are now working even more closely than ever with our client base on merging and blending our D&I strategies. But we're also looking further at more strategic partnerships with other organisations in local communities. And a key example for this, and something we're really excited about and has only taken effect in the last few weeks, is a partnership with Bury Town Football Club. And Bury Town Football Club is literally a stone's throw from our head office. And as part of this partnership, we are working with them. We are gifting some of our apprenticeship levy to the football club to support the next generation of players there. We're giving them access to our learning and development platform, and we're working with them again on our D&I initiatives as well. So we really see the future of this being in partnership. And I think this is why we're all here today, to share those ideas and those experiences, ultimately for the long-term benefit of the people that make up our businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you.